use it to fund things like green energy giveaways. We've been covering that on our show. And what did Americans get? We just got stuck with the bill. But one of the most devastating aspects of Biden's Inflation Reduction Act is a hidden provision known as the Biden pill penalty, a policy that's gutted funding for the development of potential life-saving medicines. In just the last 3 years, investments plummeted, forcing researchers to abandon potential breakthroughs for cancer, Alzheimer's, and other deadly diseases. Promising drugs that could have extended lives and even led to cures are now on the chopping block. It goes after basic incentives. So what does that mean for you? It means potentially fewer cures and higher costs. The good news is that President Trump is back and Republicans control Congress. Call them today and urge Congress to eliminate the Biden pill penalty before more potential cures are lost.
Are you sitting at home living in pain? Maybe it's in your hands.
Understand that, yes, the market has been going through a fair amount of turbulence, but there are other very positive indicators as well. Inflation report yesterday was terrific. We are seeing interest rates plummeting. We're also seeing oil prices plummeting. Deregulation is happening. We need to get rid of so much of the nonsensical Biden-era deregulation. You know, sometimes people say, Charlie, what do you disagree with President Trump on? I don't even know if this is a disagreement. President Trump famously said, well, for every one new regulation, we have to get rid of 2 regulations. I think you shouldn't add any new regulations and get rid of 5, 6, 7,000 lines of regulation. Who says you have to add new ones? Just slash these ridiculous, nonsensical rules that are on the regulatory book that make it harder for businesses to be able to operate, to hire, and deploy capital. Maria Bartiromo says this perfectly, that we are seeing a decrease in oil prices, which you are going to feel at the pump in the next 2 weeks. We are seeing interest rates go down, which by the end of the year, we might see a significant cut in rates, which will help first-time homebuyers. Play cut 130.
Well, that's what we've been pointing out this morning, and the president has been pointing it out. Rates are plummeting. Oil prices are plummeting. Deregulation is happening. You know, we've got all of these things happening. President Trump is not going to bend. He told me, a number of times that he's trying to build the economy and make it independent as opposed to relying on China for things like prescription drugs.
Now, I have to further explain the contrast to what President Trump is doing with tariffs versus what someone like Bernie Sanders would do with tariffs. And it's an incredibly important distinction. Let's say it was Bernie Sanders who once supported tariffs and in a tepid way says, yeah, we'll do tariffs. The difference is that if President Bernie Sanders, God save us from such a thing, would do tariffs, he would create a domestic control socialist economy. What President Trump is doing is incredibly unique, is that he is doing tariffs while liberating the American market economy. It's exactly the right ingredient. So tariffs are trade barriers. However, you can avoid a tariff by making products here. One of the reasons why we've been falling behind on manufacturing is because it's so hard to build new factories. And one of the greatest regulations of all is DEI. I believe DEI is the silent regulation that is an albatross around the neck of corporate America. DEI makes us less competitive. It makes us less entrepreneurial. It makes us take less risks. It prioritizes equity and racial parity or racial preferences over excellence, and you must choose. DEI is like the silent regulation that was written into every single corporate handbook by soft corporate and soft cultural decree post Floydapalooza. It was more about outcomes over opportunity, and not even about outcomes. It was honestly about a very perverted tribal racial preference doctrine that was force-fed into corporate America. So what President Trump is attempting to do is liberate the American economy through massive tax cuts, deregulation, energy boom, while having trade barriers. And that mixture should work. Again, we don't know, but you must remember, people voted for this. I would have grave concerns about tariffs if President Trump was talking about massive tax increases, more regulation, more government programs, more government redistribution, and tariffs. Because then why would anyone want to do business here? What President Trump is doing is he's making it more appealing to invest while also having a penalty to not invest. So he's doing both those things. He's making the penalty to not invest be higher because we are the world's consumer. We are the premier consumer economy on the planet. Every country desires to be a consumer economy. Every country wants to be a consumer economy. We have achieved that. We also now want to go back to be an industrial economy. And here's the little secret. It's so much easier to rebuild an industrial sector than suddenly become a consumer economy. Because in order to become a consumer economy, you must be insanely rich. Very few countries are insanely rich. And China can't be a consumer economy internationally. They can domestically because they don't want other countries' stuff to be sold in their country. Well, more for us. Being a consumer economy is not necessarily bad. What is bad is also not being a production economy. If you are both, you are a superpower the likes of which the world has never seen. And we can get that back. So President Trump doing tariffs plus domestic supply side market boom economics. Perfect combination. Alex Marlow joins us.
Something right. Top Yale scientists confirm that post-vaccination syndrome, PVS, weakens immune function, causing chronic inflammation and declining T-cell activity while spike protein levels increase over time. This means your immune system could be wearing down without you knowing it, making you more vulnerable to illness. No longer conspiracy theory, it's now backed by unbiased science. Long COVID syndrome is a condition that leaves people feeling brain fog, chronic fatigue, and shortness of breath lingering for months, in some cases for years. If you feel this way, the wellness company can help with their new long COVID syndrome support. You get 4 doctor-formulated nutraceuticals with 5 to 8 plants and minerals per bottle designed to address the root causes. Ultimate spike detox, mind lift, elevated energy, and healthy heart. Dr. McCullough, a top freedom-fighting cardiologist, recommends a durable recovery during holistic health. Explore long COVID syndrome support today. Get $60 off plus free shipping globally. Head to getwellwithcharlie.com. Take action today for a healthier tomorrow. What do Andrea Bocelli, Steph Curry, Justin Bieber, and Tim Tebow have in common? All of their mothers were encouraged to end their pregnancies. When a woman faces an unplanned pregnancy, she is often pressured to end her child's life. She wants to make the right choice, but society and those around her are telling her that her baby is not a life. That's where the Ministry of Preborn steps in. Preborn and their network of clinics offers compassionate, loving care to mothers and the support they need to help them choose life, including a free ultrasound. Once a mother hears their child's beautiful heartbeat, she is twice as likely to choose life. If you consider yourself pro-life, it's time to join forces with Preborn. I'm a donor and you should be too. Together we can empower women to choose life, empower the truth of motherhood, transforms families and futures. One ultrasound is just $28, and a $140 gift will help to rescue 5 babies. When you donate monthly, you'll receive stories and pictures of lives you helped to save. Please dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 baby, or visit preborn.com/Charlie. That is preborn.com/Charlie, sponsored by Preborn.
Joining us now is Alex Marlow, who does a great job from the Salem Radio Network, and also from Breitbart News. Alex, great to see you. I love your analysis. I want to have Alex on more often. He's super sharp and a great friend. Alex, one of the things that we did not cover, because I've been too busy going on these campuses across the country, is the cabinet meeting. I do want to play some piece of tape here from the cabinet meeting and then get your take of this group of all-stars and rock stars. I'm just going to pick one of the kind of cabinet meeting, let's just say, highlights. Let's pick this one. Bobby Kennedy saying by hopefully September, we will know what is causing the autism epidemic. Huge claim. Hope it's right. Play cut 249.
We are going at your direction. We are going to know by September. We've launched a massive testing and research effort that's going to involve hundreds of scientists from around the world. By September, we will know what has caused the autism epidemic, and we'll be able to eliminate those exposures.
So think of that. So it was 1 in 10,000 children had autism, and now it's 1 in 31. Not 31,000, 31. That's a horrible statistic, isn't it?
That is just one of many promises made. Alex, you're the editor-in-chief of Breitbart.com. What is your take on this all-star cabinet meeting? The floor is yours.
I'm a massive fan of his, and is not necessarily because of the exact reasons that you might see on your favorite X account. I don't necessarily think of him as the most hardcore. I think of him as someone as the most evidence-based. And one of the reasons why I've always been drawn to him is because I actually feel like what he wants to do is just assess some of these things that we've just assumed to be true and to be okay. And maybe some of them will turn out to be fine, and we can say the course. But other times, he's going to identify things that he's going to answer questions that either we haven't asked or we've assumed that the answer is a certain thing. And he went through a big list of things yesterday that I thought were really important. Let's just start with baby formula, where he's trying to get chemicals out of baby formula. The fact that we have a chemical-laden baby formula that babies consume, and that's just assumed to be a good thing and acceptable, he's going to reassess that. Obviously, we talked about the autism rates, and that's going to be a really complicated answer, but he's trying to give it to us almost right away. He's also talked about something, Charlie, that I think is one of the top issues of our time, which is cell phones in schools. So younger people are completely addicted to these phones. They're not learning basic social behaviors. They're getting more depressed. They're less athletic. They're less social. They are going to become just total automatons to the Silicon Valley AI algorithms. That's not the America we want. It's not the America you and I got to grow up in, Charlie, and we don't want this for young people. And he's making this a top-tier issue. His list was so long. It was one of the longest lists around, talking about the EPA getting fluoride out of the water. There's so many things that he's trying to do. School lunches. Remember how horrible Michelle Obama's school lunch program is? We actually have a guy who understands nutrition now in charge of it, not some sort of a ceremonial person. And another one of my favorites, the government money should not be used for junk food. We talk about Maha. The most fundamental thing with Maha, Charlie, is we all eat too much. We all eat bad stuff with too many ingredients in it, and we don't exercise enough. He's going to get us on that path, and I just dig it so much.
Alex, I know something you're very passionate about and something that you've been covering on at Breitbart is decoupling the federal government from higher education. Explain what you would like to see happen in that regard with our audience.
Yeah, if something is worthwhile, then people are going to step up. They're going to fund it when it comes to education, when it comes to our future. And I don't understand why the federal government is invested in any of these universities at all. Point. So many of them are self-sustained by their endowments, which are essentially just hedge funds, and they can operate. They need to collect tuition at this point, much less federal funds, and yet they're still able to get it. But I think there's a toxic university culture that permeates out into our society. Think about this, Charlie. We all know that our inner cities are not doing well, but one of the things that is a unsung part of this, an unheralded part of this, is the fact that these universities come in, they set up shop in our big cities. They bring in all these left-wing people who vote terribly. They get all these federal funds to sustain this huge economic system that drives the university campus, et cetera. They get all these parents who save money, and then they take out loans, and they send all these kids to schools. And then what happens? The kids get these, and then they vote horribly. They vote for the George Gascons of the world. They vote for the Soros-funded DAs. And it's actually ruining not just people's minds, but it's ruining our cities. The cities is the incubators for where left-wing thought is gestating and then permeating out into the rest of the culture. The suburbs are doing fine. Rural America is doing amazing. We need to get people out of the cities. And one of the ways to do this is to get the universities out of the cities.
I believe DEI angling American business, and I think that DEI could be responsible for 1-2% of GDP growth over a couple years if we keep it. I know that might sound extreme. I know people might laugh at that, but DEI is definitionally an anti-growth initiative. Alex, final thoughts here, about a minute remaining.
It can't be talked about enough. DEI is an absolute cancer in our society and is far away. And Charlie, I know how you hired. I know you've always rejected it, and so that's a compliment to you. But that is so right on, and we need to absolutely not have that. But I'll tell you, I blew Dennis Prager's mind because Dennis Prager, our friend, he asked me when I'm hiring at Breitbart if I see a Harvard on the resume, does it help? And I had to think about it, and I said, I don't really think so anymore. And someone who is an academic guy, 50 years ago, that thought that in a half a century, Harvard would not add to your resume. It just shows you stop wasting your money on these places. Get those internships going for your kids.
Alex, excellent, sharp commentary as always. 30 seconds. Tell people about your show, Breitbart.com, what you're doing with Salem. Tell people all about it.
Oh, thank you, Charlie. We're colleagues now at Salem. I'm on the Salem Podcast Network, so you can get it iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, wherever you're doing it. We're off to a fast start because I got such great friends like you, and Breitbart.com is absolutely thriving right now. We are the paper of record for the Trump administration. We call the balls and strikes, and I think you'll always find something entertaining and informative on our pages every single day.
I love Breitbart.com. Phenomenal. I got my start at Breitbart.com, and that I will never forget. Alex, thanks so much.
Hostages being released, terrorists resurfacing, Gaza plans, and so on. But there's one thing we tend to overlook: the people of Israel. The war has taken a huge physical and emotional toll on our Jewish brothers and sisters. And that's why I want you to know about the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews. I want you to support the important work that they do. IFCJ is on the ground throughout Israel, providing food and life-saving aid to the sick and elderly, even released hostages and their families. Join me and visit ifcj.org/learn more.
It's on Stackelbet tonight. On April 16th, Rick Renner unpacks the power of the resurrection like never before in The Resurrection Revealed. On April 17th, we welcome Rabbi Jonathan Kahn for the mysteries of the Passover with worship from Joshua Aaron. And then on April 18th, I'll take you on location in Israel for our powerful Good Friday special, From the Cross to the Crown. 3 nights, one message: He is risen. Be sure to watch Stackelbet tonight, Easter week, only on TBN.